The magic number was shot today in golf, and actually one better, not a 59, but a 58, Patrick, by one Bryson DeChambeau in the final round of LIV Golf Greenbrier, a 12 under 58 that featured a bogey on the par 3 8th and rolling in a long putt on his final hole of the day to capture his first LIV victory.
And what was one of the better celebrations I have ever seen on the golf course. He got up. I did not expect Bryson to have bunnies, but he kind of does.
Yeah.
And I think this is just the culmination of a lot of hard work for him, kind of reinventing himself again. He really went through it in 2022. He looked really bad. Yeah, there are some nice finishes here and there, but the game was not where it needed to be. And this year, losing weight, getting a lot healthier, we saw it really start to pay dividends around the PGA Championship when he held the first round lead there. He ended up cashing a top 5. He was on the edge of contention at the U.S. Open as well, and just really started to continue to play well-rounded golf. And for him to shoot 58 is I don't care what golf tour you're on, really what golf course for the most part you're on. It is flat out impressive. Oh my God, David Pugh. That's sad. I didn't know that was him in there the first time I saw this photo. And it's just awesome. I've always said the game of golf is better when Bryson DeChambeau is playing on your screen. When Bryson DeChambeau is relevant in the game, it's just so much more fun. No matter what this guy does, it could be stupid, it could be funny, it could be amazing, like today in this 58. He's just such a great personality and someone who's so intriguing to follow. You don't really know what he's going to do next. You don't know what he's going to say next either. Where it's a ton of fun to follow him, and he's a blast to watch him play too. He put that new driver in the bag. That's like,
yeah,
I'm not too sure what those specs are or whatever, but he pretty much said, I can hit it anywhere on the face and it's fine, which I don't know, but that sounds, I need that in my bag if that's the case. But it's great. And, good for Bryson, good for him to pick up this win.
Yeah. So Greenbrier becomes the first golf course to ever surrender 3 sub-60 rounds. Greg, do you want to name the other 2?
Kevin Chappell.
Correct.
And Stuart Appleby.
Correct.
Oh,
yes. Well done. That driver that he has put in play, Greg, is from Crank, which is a company most have never heard of, but they specialize in long drive equipment. And from what I understand, and a lot of this is over my head, is that for the last couple of years, especially as Bryson has gotten bigger, stronger, faster, the ball speeds that he puts out there, like, it changes everything about the clubs, right? When they're coming off at that speed, and it changes the loft, and it changes the way everything works together. So he is trying to find something that will play better at higher speeds, and through the 2 or 3 rounds that he's used it looks pretty good.
Yes. This has been a big problem for him. I haven't heard anybody talk about their equipment in a negative light as much as Bryson has during this experiment. It's like he needed his equipment to match what he was doing, which is, a departure, quite frankly. There's club fitting and there's more and more of that going on now. But typically it's okay. If I hit it on the toe, it's going to hook. So I need to not hit it on the toe if I don't want to hit a hook. Like the traditional way to look at the game is it's the Indian, not the arrow. And Bryson has been very vocal about the fact that it's the arrow, not the Indian. Even though the funny thing too is at the same time, look, if I hit it on the toe, it's not performing the way it would if I hit it in the middle. It's like, okay,
Sure.
yeah, well, that's the game. But it seems like he's found one that's automatic. So good for Bryson. It's an incredible round, an incredible weekend of golf for him. I'm still not sure what it means, other than he played a great round of golf and won a LIV event. It's still a hard thing. I saw your tweet, Rick, and you're right. You can't take away a 58 in competition. I still find it hard to contextualize. Not the score, but the win.
So my tweet got me a lot of LIV boy followers, which I don't think they know what they're getting themselves into. But my point being that the one thing that we've talked about with LIV, and Greg, you're right, everything's hard to contextualize. Winning a LIV event is worth what? Is it super impressive? Is it not? How many of these guys are good? It's only 3 rounds, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's very hard to put into context. In other tours, not just the PGA Tour, but the global tours as well, when someone wins the BMW PGA Championship at Wentworth, it's like, okay, I know that. I know the guys who have won here before. I know the types of, even the Wells Fargo has had a history of like having really good winners that end up being kind of legit guys. So there's this built-in context. LIV, doesn't have that context. It is easy though, for the context of the guys went to LIV Greenbrier. Of course, we've seen plenty. And one of their players, who happens to be, I think, like their biggest character, shot one of the best rounds in professional history. That alone to me is like easy to put into perspective. I agree with you on the second part, Greg, which is like, am I impressed that Bryson beat out Mito Pereira and Richard Bland in 3 rounds at LIV Golf Greenbrier? I don't know. Maybe that'll age really well. I'm not sure. But this round from Bryson, like, phenomenal.
It's phenomenal. There were 4 pars on that scorecard. It's a phenomenal round of golf. There's no question about it. Again, I do think the context still comes into play. Now, here's the thing. What we've learned about LIV golf so far is that the guys who play there care. They still care. I mean, maybe not all of them, but some of them do. It's clear that Bryson does. Clear that that Brooks Koepka's put in a whole lot of work on his game and on his craft. So they definitely are working hard for it. But what is it, and what does it mean? And is it different playing in a 3-round tournament than a 4-round tournament? I think we know that answer is yes. Is it different playing with a team component? I think we know the answer is yes. Good or bad, take your pick. But these differences make it hard to contextualize and make it hard to rank these things. And there's just something missing from it. Again, what does this connect to? Like there's this, to me, for Bryson, is a great round of golf and a great tournament. But are we looking forward to the LIV Golf Championships, the final at Doral? Is it the Masters next year? I mean, people are saying Ryder Cup. Does this can you really take this and say that he deserves to be on the Ryder Cup team because he shot a 58? I don't think so in any way. And if JT shot 58 today, I don't think it would be enough to put him on the team. It would just keep him in the conversation, right? Because he'd be in the playoffs. So I just think it's hard to figure out what it all connects to and what it all leads to and why it's worth watching.
The one I miss, Bryson's the guy I miss the most, Patrick, because Bryson's my kind of guy where it's like, Bryson's kind of a weird guy, and I think he's got like he says some things socially that I think are pretty stupid, but I love that he's always trying to innovate, right? He wanted to do the side saddle putting. He does the single length irons. He bulks up the compass. He then trims back down. He's going to go with the crank drive. Like, he's never been afraid to innovate, which I actually think is generally not happening in golf as fast as it is in other sports. Like, we literally saw the NBA radically change in like 2 years from like the number of 3-point shots they take, and like strategy rapidly changed. When Jahlil Okafor was drafted top 3, he was irrelevant 2 years later. That is like so bizarre in sports. So I like what Bryson does. He's the guy I miss the most, and I hate to see him shooting 58s on other tours. I wish he would have done it here.
He's the most interesting character there. I mean, I'd throw Patrick Reed in that conversation as well. I love Patrick Reed. He's a guy who mixes it up. He's not afraid to mix it up. But 2 things about Bryson. When you guys said crank, I thought it was like a bad energy drink or one of those like testosterone pills at 7-Eleven.
Nope.
You get at the counter. And 2.
Well, it might be, but
yeah, there might be a second one.
He was only 4 strokes shy of shooting 54,
yes,
which Yasser said came with a $54 million bonus.
Right, which when that first came out, I was like, well, obviously no one's going to sniff that. Four shots away, and he made a bogey.
Yeah, I mean, you could find 4 strokes somehow in that 58. The bogey for sure. But I totally agree with you, Bryson, and just how interesting and how he has been able to put his pride aside and try new things. We talked about how, do you think Justin Thomas would ever put this broomstick in, or is he too prideful? Or some of these top players who are struggling like putting, do you think Scotty Scheffler would ever even consider something like that if they're too prideful? There's really not a lot of that with Bryson when it comes to his golf game and trying new things. He's not afraid if something doesn't work. He'll just, tick the box. He's on to the next thing that he thinks can make him better, which is very admirable. And
I think he actually takes pride in trying new things.
I agree.
Yeah. And I think for the Ryder Cup conversation, you probably don't want to admit it, but it's a boys' club. And Bryson, for as zany as he is, for as well as him and Scotty got on at Whistling Straits, he's not in the boys' club. Jordan Spieth isn't going to go to Zach Johnson, and Jordan Spieth's going to be on the team. He's the most, seasoned veteran that we have. He's not going to go over to Zach Johnson and be like, I need Bryson on this team. The possibility of that's very low.
I agree with you. I don't think Bryson will be on the Ryder Cup team. I'm not sure he deserves to, but I just don't think he's going to be on it. They're kind of 2 different questions.